What is the best class for the MAW? Which is a lot of endgame of Shadowlands. A lot of endgame of Shadowlands is spent in the MAW. It's a very particular zone, which has very particular requirements, and a lot of us casuals do not realize how our favorite class that we, or spec that we have pre-selected perhaps with some of my previous videos, you by yourselves, guys and girls, and you have no idea how your endgame experience will feel and how much of a slog it will be if you have selected the wrong class and the wrong spec to start with. So today I thought I'll offer you this a little, it's a loosely scripted video, but a little bit ranty, a little bit of a dialogue with you, where I'll share with you my opinion on what is the best class and spec to play in the MAW that in fact I will right now play. How about we talk about that today? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Gyro, very happy to see you here. Particularly warm welcome to all my new subscribers, people who have joined the channel over the past few weeks. Christmas, New Year's is a very quiet time for us here on this channel, and it's great to see new people pop into the comments and say hello, and I always say hello back as long as you're not an entitled troll. So, what is the best class and spec for the MAW? I'll very quickly drive past my usual disclaimerish comment where I say that everything is subjective. Best class and spec anywhere for the MAW, for Bastion, for anything else is the class and spec you enjoy to play. What about me though? And what about objective rational selection? That's what we're gonna do today. Today we're talking about melee characters. It's melee characters that we're talking about, melee classes, because it would be a bit too much if we started going too broadly. But I'll try to reach as broadly as I can, I suppose. Okay, so let's take a look at the Paladin. As you know, I love Protection Paladin. Let's start with them. So what's good about Protection Paladins in the MAW, outside of the MAW, whatever? Protection Paladins have a lot of self-heal and some tricks such as Bubble Hearth if you're in trouble. That is very good. Protection Paladins are among the toughest and relatively easy to play. These are all pluses. These are all pluses. That's something that would make you play anywhere, including the MAW, including the areas such as the MAW. Time investment as well into Paladin's protection, any other spec, time investment, return on investment is very high because all three roles of the Paladin are potentially covered. Say you play in the MAW as protection, play in Torghast as protection, whatever, but at the same time you are gearing up, you're beefing up this character and you are investing, it's worth your time investment. Yeah, does it make sense? Now, why not Retribution? Because I personally found Retribution too squishy in the unpredictable environment that the MAW is. There are usually some ads, there are usually some elites, there are usually I generally feel a bit too squishy when I go beyond 1 or 2 targets. Yes, I'm averagely geared, I'm not over gearing content, so if you are in 190 gear, 200 item level 200 gear, these considerations probably will not apply to you or will not apply to you as much as they apply to me. That's why not Retribution. I feel safer and much more enjoyable in protection. Now here's where we get to the crux of it, and this will be a trend throughout this video, I suppose, how my decision is made. Protection Paladin has a burst with Cavalier talent, and you can burst ahead a little bit without the mount, obviously, but that's it. Protection Paladins and generally Paladins are quite slow in the MAW, and considering how much time we need to spend in the MAW to grind Venari rep and to grind for stuff, Paladin really kind of drops towards the lower end of the spectrum for me as far as selection is concerned. It's a great class, lots of great specs, but too slow to seriously consider to play in the MAW as a main, in my humble opinion. You, as always, tell me in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. We don't have to agree, as long as we're mutually respectful. Now on to warriors. Warriors, I would play a warrior in protection spec for the same reason as I just said to you about the Paladin in protection. Yes, there is Fury, yes, there is Arms. I am not an expert in the warrior Fury, warrior Arms, I welcome your opinions, but here, sharing mine with you, I would play as a protection warrior who has a good output of DPS. Okay, it's not a DPS spec, sure, okay, cool. But at the same time, warrior is very tough, and warrior dishes out a reasonable, very respectable amount of damage even in protection spec. A lot of crowd control, that's a big plus. Also shocks, you know, and that kind of stuff, slowing down of enemies with thunderclap. So warrior is fantastic in that regard. And warrior has respectable amount of self-healing. Respectable. And a lot of damage mitigation. Warriors don't heal back as much as they try to prevent as far as mitigation. In protection. And we're talking protection. This is all great. Fits into the MAW, fits into this uncertain environment full of ads, this and that. You know, an elite could jump you, a rider could come left field, who knows exactly what would happen. So that's all good. Time investment, I suppose medium return investment, because 2 roles are covered. You can be gearing for DPS, you can be continuing to be in protection. That's all fantastic. But having said that, I don't think that there is enough competitive self-heal, consistent, constant self-heal, and not enough mobility, even though there is some good mobility with the heroic leap. And it is also a free directional mobility. It's not just a straight line mobility, it's a free directional leap. So it's fantastic. But at the same time, I don't think it is the competitive level of mobility that I need to not want to, you know, to not want to pluck the rest of my remaining hair out of my head as I spend my time in the MAW. That's why warrior is not my selection for the MAW. Death Knights, any spec tested in blood, are practically unkillable. That's a mega huge, probably main, not the only, but the main advantage of Death Knights over any other class. The toughest, I would almost go as far as saying the toughest of them all. Lots, metric tons of mitigation and self-heal. Lots of it. A few very good tricks such as Death Grip. A lot of them. Time investment, medium also, not too bad. Both DPS and tanking roles are covered if you're spending time. In the MAW, elsewhere, it doesn't matter. On Death Knights, fantastic. But worst mobility. We cannot even argue here. Yes, there is like, you know, temporary, whatever that talent is called, you know, Ghost Walk or something that is on obscenely long cooldown to be of any particular benefit to me personally. Yes, there is a talent on a Pale Horse and all these kind of things, so somewhat mitigate of that horrific lacking mobility for Death Knights, but I would never ever play Death Knight with this state of the game that I've just now witnessed. I would go back and I would be in love with my Death Knight when they finally enable mounts in the MAW, or they finally, you know, allow flying in the outer world of Shadowlands, but not right now. Shaman. I'm looking at enhancement spec, and no, I do not have a recording over here, but I had experience with Shaman in the MAW as far as general rule set of this no mounts business, for example, in beta. I just don't have that footage to show to you guys and girls, and that's why I'm showing to you a different one, but we talk about Shaman. Great mobility in Ghost Wolf form. Great mobility. Certainly not a mount, but great mobility. A ton of tricks. Shaman. Bag of tricks. Including Earth Elemental when you need it. On a little bit of a too long cooldown. Longer than I'd like. Utility totems. All the things that you know about Shaman. All the things that we love about Shaman. Tremendous amount of self-heal. Fantastic. Great DPS burst. Competitively probably among the best DPS bursts there is. Rather tanky for a melee character, the enhancement spec I mean. Very tanky, even without a tank, without elemental being out. Time investment is fantastic. You know, I would measure it still as medium. You can be a healer, you can be two different DPS specs, so Shaman is fantastic in them all. No stealth. One little kink there. No stealth, and we have to compare here fairly. If we're comparing all of these different specs right now, I have to say it. Everything is great. No stealth. Monks, Windwalker or Brewmaster. I would primarily obviously be in Windwalker because you have extra mobility there in the Flying Serpent kick, which goes a long way, quite literally. Yeah! Fantastic mobility. Once again, it's not 100% full feeling of being a mount, on a mount, you know, whatever. But it's great mobility. Roll is there, available fairly frequently, Flying Serpent kick, beautiful. Quite a few tricks, plenty of tricks, including the fact that you can, if you want to, if you feel like you're being oppressed too much, if you feel like you're getting like a Retribution Paladin or Fury Warrior a little onto the squishy side of things, even though I never personally found a Windwalker mount, a a Windwalker monk as squishy as the others that I've mentioned. But if you want to, you can always switch to Brewmaster and use the Ox statue to taunt the enemies. Like, there are a lot of tricks, tactical tricks that a monk can do in addition to the mobility, to tremendous mobility. Fantastic, great DPS burst Windwalkers have. Fantastic DPS burst. Once again, at the moment of recording of this video, I don't have the footage yet for Windwalkers here on live, but I did test the Windwalker in the beta, in the MAW, and it felt great. It felt fine, yeah? But I would say that generally, as I said in some earlier videos months ago when I talked about different specs for the monk as part of Horrific Visions, when we were reviewing their performance in Horrific Visions as relevant content back then, I do find monk, especially Brewmaster and even Windwalker, a bit more complex to play. I do find them a bit bloated in terms of the amount of actions and the amount of buttons that you need to press in particular sequence in order to be competitive, dish out competitive, good DPS, not cheesed out DPS just with Fists of Fury or whatever. I still love monks. I will still play monk at one point on live, just not at this very moment of recording of this video. I have very kind of special place in my heart for monks, but at the moment have to say that it's a little on the complex side for me, which affects any other zone where I would play with the monk, and that's why it's close to the top, but I wouldn't say it's my top. And again, to be fair, fair is fair, still have to say, no stealth. Speaking of stealth, rogues, my dear rogues, once again I apologized enough in the videos preceding this one months beforehand where I was rating rogues lower than rogues would have liked. And like saying to me, oh Gyro, what do you have against rogues, mate? You're a noob, you don't get it. Haha, is my answer to you. Yeah. I'm certainly not a noob, but I'm not an expert in rogues. I can only tell you how I feel about it. Rogue specs that I do play, not yet, not here in this case, but memory is certainly fresh. I play Outlaw. I like Swashbuckler style. I am not very proficient with the rogue, not by a country mile. I can say that rogues absolutely recognizably have an amazing set of tricks to get to places. Grappling hook, something that comes to mind instantly here. Great set of escapes. Fantastic set of escapes, like such as Vanish. Who has Vanish? Nobody else. Stealth. Stealth! You can stealth past a lot of stuff in the MAW. You can stealth. It's fantastic, it's beautiful. Different ways to burst the mobility, you know? You have sprint, you have talents that speed you up, you have other kind of things. So it's not bad, but again, mobility is not full-time. It's not a full-time mobility, I guess I found finally the way to say it. There is a self-heal, rogues have self-heal, there is a potion, but it's on a cooldown, and leeching poison is not enough. So I would say rogues do not have reliable enough self-heal for me to feel comfortable. For a rogue to stay alive, you need to control your pulls, you cannot face tank a lot of adds, which often happens in the MAW particularly, and it will be particularly painful because you will die and there is a long way to run there. And time investment is on the return on investment of spending time with the rogue, in my opinion, is on the low side, because it's only a single role, you're only DPSing. If that's all you want to do, or you PvP or whatever, but that's not the context of us discussing the MAW here, yeah? If that's what you want to do, you'll be alright, but not me. Final honorable mention here goes to my very favorite, probably the class that you guys would have thought and girls would have thought that I'd say, well, it has to be a DH, it has to be the Demon Hunter. I love Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters have glide, Demon Hunters have double jump, Demon Hunters dash ahead, vengeful retreat, mobility is great. But once again, like I said about other classes such as Monk, who is the closest, I think, competitor to Demon Hunters in terms of mobility, this mobility, especially in the environment of the MAW, is not constant. It is not full-time. Demon Hunters have fantastic self-heal, easy gameplay, few buttons to push. So performance is beautiful, performance is great, and everything is great about them. Time investment is medium because they can be both tanks and DPS. I love everything about Demon Hunters. I do. They have no stealth, and they still need to pull everything if they need to get past that something, right? And that is a huge slowdown. mega problem with the MAW is the fact that we are artificially and constantly slowed down. It's really horribly annoying, at least for me. Let me know if it affects you. I think it affects everyone, but I can't assume so. This brings us to my choice. My choice is the Druid, my friends. Yes, I have switched at the moment of recording of this video. I have shelved my Demon Hunter, my beloved favorite Demon Hunter that I said that would be the only melee DPS I would play in Shadowlands. It's not the case. This situation evolved. I play Druid. Let's say Feral. It is a very obvious winner for me, especially by now that we went through this system of how I allocate the points to our contestants today. It is an obvious winner. It is the best tricks and utility. The best tricks and utility that it has. It is the best full-time ability because you are the mount. You shift into the mount. And at least of the moment of recording of this video, Blizzard hasn't nerfed it. Druid, as far as I know, is the only class that can be full-time mount in the MAW. And that, my friends, alone is a huge winning factor. Country mile ahead of others. The fact of how slow you feel in the MAW. Yes, I know that you can kill those riders on those dogs and you can get them out, but it's a hassle. And they're not always full-time available to you. Stealth. Druids have stealth. In addition to all of this, it's completely illegal. It should be completely illegal. They can stealth. Enough said. They can skip past half of whatever you guys have to fight as, you know, a paladin or a warrior face tanking everything like this. I can just skip it. And then I can turn into a mount and run away. Or just get back to Venari like, la la la, the sun is shining, except it's not shining in the MAW. A ton of escapes as well. Mass entanglement. Boom. Everyone stands there. I'm like, oh, bye guys. Fantastic. Best time investment into a class in general, in the MAW, outside of the MAW, doesn't matter. But while you do your quest, while you invest into your character in the MAW, you're basically potentially beefing yourself up, beefing your character up for 3 different roles and 2 different ways to do DPS. It's just awesome. It is just awesome. I would also just say here that if we were to compare the Druid in its like most active kind of like tanking roles or DPS role, like say a cat, feral Druid, yeah, let's not talk about ranged, we're not talking about ranged today, not boomkin. But if you compare cat to a rogue, I'd say it's easier to be a cat than it is to be a rogue. It's similar mechanic, but it's easier. If you compare the tanking, the bear form, with pretty much any tank, including Demon Hunters, maybe comparable to Demon Hunters, but I'm gonna just go completely out there and say it's easier. It's easier than being any other tank as well. In the MAW, outside of the MAW, it doesn't matter. The only minus, if I had to find the minus here, or just to be completely fair here and level it out, some might argue that the Druid, because of the 4 specs, because of the metric ton of abilities, it is overall as a class a little bloated overall with the number of abilities, because I gave hard time to, you know, Brewmasters, for example, before for too many buttons and too other kind of stuff. So, okay, in that regard, I wish it was a bit more streamlined, but with Druids with so much versatility, you simply cannot, and I kind of accept it as such. This is my selection. For now, for the current state of the game, in the MAW, when none of us have mounts, and not many of us will ever be able to clear to Torghast Twisting Corridors level 18, where you will get the mount for the MAW, something, I'm speculating, I think so, let me know if I'm mistaken. In the current state of the game, where we are artificially slowed down by the infinite wisdom of the tremendously smart design decisions of Blizzard, the Druid is the only real choice, closely followed probably by Enhancement Shaman and the Ghost Wolf form, to be honest with you, and then followed by the Monk. Demon Hunter is always somewhere there, so if you are preferring Demon Hunter, you probably will not feel lagging behind too much, because you still have very good mobility, but not full time. Druid is the only class that will give you full-time mobility, mount level mobility, and stealth. It's crazy. So I hope this was somewhat enjoyable and entertaining, hopefully for you, as in somewhat informative and always enjoyable and entertaining. That's what I'm hoping for. That's my sincere attempt. But as someone smart who I once knew said to me once, I am not a $100 banknote for everyone to love me. So I don't expect that to happen. Please like the video if you did like this. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you like these semi-ranty but friendly, very much casual, friendly, welcoming of your feedback, offering you my honest opinion kind of videos from me. Videos are coming to you. I'm trying to maintain the pace of 2 videos a week, but with the new year of the work starting and everything, keep an eye on the channel, keep an eye for my posts in case that schedule starts slipping. You will be the first ones to know. But regardless, my interest in World of Warcraft is maintained by the number of alts I'm maintaining. Yes, I'm slowly resurrecting all of my alts, and I'll be talking to you about different ones. Torghast, Mythic Dungeons, the MAW, anything else that is there to do with the game. And I welcome new people to this club always. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be speaking with you very soon. See you later. Bye bye.